I just want to start off by saying that you've been just incredible, incredible disappointments to me. And um, pick it up, or I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm kidding, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. One love. So I have been having the time of my life exploring the intersection between this Vultrum diceless role playing rules and this thing that I've been previously exploring and picked back up. This thing I'd been exploring, the SSP, TTT, the meta RPG that I had been doing at the beginning of, this RPG channel, but had kind of fallen by the kind of the wayside. We say hello to Mario Heat, representing both over here. USB cable on sale. Thank you. I have no idea what's going on with that. Um, Whenever people come into the live chat with these statements, I'm always like running it through the system. Like, what? Okay, is it an audio problem? Are they trying to hook, clue me into something? What am I not getting? Who knows? Coat hangers. Has there been a change in the abortion? What's going on? Anywho, and I started talking about this last time, but much like today, I did not have as much time as I usually have in my videos. My videos go on for a million years. I'm sure that is to the irk that irks some people. To some people, that must be like Kalu Kalay. It's like this, drone on and on because, you know, um, may my bong overflow and may you never stop, you know, um, bullshitting this bullshitter. I mean, who knows? For horses for courses. I certainly, it's inscrutable to me why anything happens the way that it does. But being so pressed for time as I was last time, I was definitely shooting through things. I think what makes sense is for me to breathe in, breathe out, and just know and understand that it takes time to get through these things, and we'll just take our time. Bucky Wilkins. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Well, with that face, you're shooting something. Well, someone had to. Listen, so one of the things that got kind of pushed over last time was a very important factor of the meta RPG spell creation, which was its tie to the notion of time travel. We Let me do this. Let me try and shoot through because I promoted this and I've been promoting these last couple of videos to this new place I've discovered, the FKR Discord. And it's not the FKR's Discord's fault. I think the FKR, like all things, the RPG community is a small community. And it has been said 1,000 times, if it's not the big dog, if it's not Dungeons and Dragons, and especially not Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, the drop off in play and the actual amount of energy, there you go. When are we going to play? Baby, I am like, I am playing with rule sets here that are inspired by 1974 gaming here. Baldur's Gate 3 on PS5. You know what I mean? I'm going back to the days of like pre-Tandy, We are going back to the days of, um, Doc Loomis over at Flying Buffalo's $14,000, one baud computer calculating play by post. And that's, yeah, exactly. That's the revolution. He can't play that until 2043, baby. Let's shoot through the timeline so that new players or new people can kind of catch themselves up to speed. I'm really going to nutshell this so we can get through as much as possible and see that if I can get to this. It was around the year 2000 that I noticed something that I first called the 20-year nostalgia loop, and I started taking notes on it with the intention of eventually writing a book. And it was the notion that everything that I was seeing around me was basically a rinse and repeat of what was going on 20 years before. That the 2000 that I was looking around me was just basically 1980. And that when I reflected upon it, the 1999 that I had just experienced and the 1998 that I had just experienced, it was essentially just 1978 and 1979. And I started looking at things like Vietnam movies and when Vietnam movies had happened, even movies like Rambo and when they happened. And I started to collect these notions of these instances of these 20-year nostalgia loops and collecting them into notebooks and stuff that eventually, like I said, was going to be a book of some sort. And it, like most things, because I was a big time pothead, I have a drug addiction and alcohol problem that I'm, dealing with, and I got to deal with every day. Um, it didn't turn into a book. It just turned into ideas and kind of things I would discuss at parties and a private obsession and things that I would think about. And sometimes I would write things in the book, and sometimes it would just, turn into an funny idea that I had or a big one of these big philosophical things, whatever. Come to 2018, and I've had my YouTube channel since 2015 talking about UFOs and conspiracy theorists, and especially the wackadoo people that are around those scenes, the alien contactees and the messengers from the Palladians and the messengers of the new interpretations of the Law of One and the Blue Aliens, et cetera, et cetera. And I started coming up with this concept of the CW Chapter Secret Space Program Whistleblower School, and I started analyzing all these people and kind of systematizing it into looking about how these people are just basically doing the same formula over and over again. And then, like I said, around the tail end of 2018, coming up on New Year's of 2000, and going into 2019, I said we're going to do this thing called the Secret Space Program Whistleblower School, and I incorporated in this 20-year nostalgia loop theory into it. And I developed kind of overnight this notion of time traveling through the 20-year nostalgia loop by only listening to music and watching movies and watching TV shows and reading comic books and reading books from exactly 20 years ago. So if it was like 2018, right, you would only watch movies, listen to music, and read books and stuff from 1998. And barring that possibility, you would only listen to stuff or read stuff that had been made before 1998 or stuff that you especially had listened to actually in 1998. The whole thing was like, attuning yourself or bringing yourself to that, back to that period of time. And like I said, I'm going to keep it quick here. I'm not going to have videos and videos and videos and videos. This goes back to 2018, folks. So exploring this and intimately drawing it into this whole like kind of live action role playing game thing that I was doing on my other channel with a group of people, like a whole bunch of people that were participating in it with me after, like I said, at the tail end of 2018. People got really involved in it and really concentrating on a whole bunch of people. And the theory was that if one person, just did it, they could, weaponize the nostalgia loop to travel back in time. But if a whole bunch of us did it, and especially if we all did it like at different parts of the world, look, folks, I mean, like I've got an open mind when it comes to this like esoteric thoughts and philosophy and magic and making change happen in accordance with one's will. And I don't know what's real and what's not real, but I can experiment with these things and I think about these things and synchronicity and whatever, and it just is what it is. So I didn't know what would happen, but we all did it. And look, I can tell you, people freaked out. Like things happened. Some people had relapses. People did different things. People came back to people reported things, whether you call it circumstances or coincidences or whatever. Things happened. And it was what it was. So it was a kind of a resurgence of this thing, but especially this notion of time travel through the use of these nostalgia loops. So whatever, life moves on. The channel went through ups and downs. My life went through ups and downs. I had a divorce. Things happened. Whatever. Girlfriend came in. Girlfriend went out. Things evolve, and eventually I get in and out of tabletop role playing games, and I start this new channel, and I start bringing back this notion of the use of this, the use of the nostalgia loops through to invoke or to affect time travel. And I especially started to do it in regards to this notion of the development of what I started calling on this channel the secret space program, time travel technology, meta RPG. And part of it was doing this, concentration of the media from either, and we expanded it out. We noticed that there were different kinds of nostalgia loops. It wasn't just 20 years. There were 25-year nostalgia loops. There were 30-year nostalgia loops, 10-year nostalgia loops, 15-year nostalgia loops. There were different things, and it gets to a lot of different things. But anyway, when it came to the specifics of role playing, part of it became this notion of a role playing game. Part of why it became a meta role playing game is that it's like game rules that you could apply as an esoteric practice in your own individual life, or rules that you could apply in a game setting for player characters involved in imaginary space. If I'm losing a whole bunch of people, that's understandable. We do our best when we are trying to expand ourselves and think outside of the box. By definition, we are trying to think and explore new thoughts. The risk of that is sounding crazy to people who have not. And it's not like I think I'm better than them. It's just like if you know what I mean. If you know what I mean. If you're trying to do something different, you're gonna explain things. It's not. You run the risk of not making sense. So I completely accept that this might not make sense. Where it comes, back home to regular role playing is that, whether you get involved in the time travel esoteric aspects of it or not, there are techniques that I use in this process that are universally applicable, whether or not you think it results in time travel or whether or not you think it's just a gas to go back and groove on getting gaming resources, especially gaming resources that I think are going to be wild for you if you're into this, free creek spiel, more narrative, less, rules crunch oriented play, especially if you're trying to generate things like, evocative language for random table entries or evocative language for descriptions of entities or creatures or monsters or NPC characters, however you want to characterize it. Um, Especially, genre specific, era specific, time specific, situation specific instances. And coming to this, Vultrum, diceless rules that this guy, Norbert Madish, came up with, it was a natural and perfect fit for this kind of spell casting, technique that I had come up with for this meta RPG, which basically just simply involved watching these movies, these TV shows, these comic books, or whatever from the past, from these specific times in the past, and see a trope, capture a trope. See an evocative moment, see something beyond comedic excellence, see something that's ridiculous, see a Rocky Horror Picture Show moment that you have to speak back to the screen about, capture it, write it down in a specific way, in a matter-of-fact way, or in a colorful way, or, do it good, do it bad, it doesn't matter, but just capture the moment in language and do it in a vague way, especially. And then that language exists as a spell. And the rules are very simple. You don't just come up with these spells, walking around on your own. You capture these spells from moments in time that exist from specific moments in time. You write them down. And when they are used, you cross them off. They are like expanded. So you're using this kind of Vancian magic that we experience in D&D, but you're doing it yourself, your spell book. Like if you're familiar with the FKR style game, what is it? I think it's called. Is it called Shield and Backpack or something in Backpack, like Sword and Backpack? This notion of like a physical journal becoming, like an intimate manifestation of the game in physical space. You are the spell creator, and when you expand the spell, whether it be assigning it as a characteristic of a player character, or is using it by, putting it as an entry for a trap or a door entry or whatever, you've used it, or using it as a spell to cast or whatever, you've used it, you cross it off. And that way, if there's some magic moment in the movie Revenge of the Nerds, you watch it, you capture it, you write it down, like a booger, like Revenge of the Nerds 2, like Snot's, 18-minute belch, and you find some evocative way to record it and write it down. You wrote it down and you recorded in that moment, in that instance. You have one instance of Snot's amazing belch. And when you've used it and when you've expanded in whatever instance you use it, it's like mega elixir, right? It's like mega, you know what I mean? Like when you've used that belch, you got to watch Revenge of the Nerds 2 again, or a YouTube video of it. You have to see him do it again in order to get it again. And it makes that play experience real. And why do it that way? Why do anything anyway? It's because it's a different way to do it. And if you do it this different way, then you'll experience what doing it this different way does. And your life will be different than doing it the other ways you've already done it. And I think we need to do things differently because we've already done the things that we've done. And we've did it. And we've been doing 1983 for over 40 years. There's a reason why they keep on giving us the 80s. They don't want to go on to let us go on naturally to the nostalgia of the 90s, because the nostalgia of the 90s says, don't buy any more things. And they want us to keep on buying more things. So we've talked about the Vultrum rules last time, so I don't know if we need to go over it again. You basically have things that characteristics run from 1 to 6. Our archetype, our gimmick, which is our outside skill. And like basically I misread these rules, kind of like there's 6 things. It could be any kind of characteristics you want, but basically the way we're playing them is the way that Norbert laid them out in his articulation of the Vultrum rules on his website, which is archetype, which is, kind of like your class, your characteristic, your like main kind of thing, like how would you be known or identified. Your gimmick, which is like, the main thing you'd be known for, your main skill, or how people would know you, is what your power is. Your skill is the thing that you can do that most people would not know about you. A vehicle or creature you control. Your domain, where do you live? Equipment. And you get 3 items of equipment, and you'd rate these things. The equipment is all one lump term for all 3 pieces of equipment, from 1 to 6. The thing that your character you like the most is a 6, and you rate them. And when you encounter things, you don't roll any dice. A 6 beats a 5, 4, 3. You know what I mean? Like it's all, basically the highest number wins. So we then noticed that I was using the kind of the micro chapbook RPG rules of, assigning, 6-sided, dice. We roll dice to figure out types of rooms and types of doors and portals that we'll encounter. But in this instance of this game, we are using these spells that we generated through the spell methodology. So the characteristics that we have are these very narrative descriptions. We're not just picking for archetype. We're not just saying, oh, we're going to play a thief and writing down thief. No, we wrote down for archetype, we wrote, for this, we have a tyrant here and a bad guy. We have dirty underground babes on boob cam. We took that from a movie. We watched the movie, and there was an instance of a thing that we wrote down and captured as a spell called dirty underground babes on boob cam. So the archetype, that becomes the archetype of a pornographic actress, right? And we assigned that a number, that she's very proud of that thing aspect of her. So it's a number 6. So if she encounters any guys, she's going to have them under her thrall and spell, kind of thing. especially because her gimmick number that she has as a 5 is Venus Vagina Man Trap. Oh, baby. And those are from 2 different movies from 2014. So you see, we're combining different things and thrills. That's the point. And we talked about the rooms and the doors and portals, how that would work, right? So that's kind of, and I'm running out of time here. I'm at 4:54, so that might be kind of what we're doing here. Let me do this. So I can do this. What I want to do the last couple of minutes that I have here is we talked about the Vultrum rules last time. I shooting through here things, but what I want to do here is this: to talk about a little bit about spell creation. How you would do these spells. Talk a little bit about cheating, how you can cheat at this a little bit, and how it can be a meta RPG in the form of um, how you can do um, time travel in the sense of getting things from one year to another year. And part of the thing you need to understand is that part of my rule set is things from given years need to be together. So this thing, when I started to do this kind of rule set, this playthrough of the meta RPG, I picked the year 2014 because I knew that we're going into the 10-year nostalgia loop for 2014, and that's when D&D 5e came out, and that's when the first season of Rick and Morty, the first season of Rick and Morty was 11 episodes. The first 3 was in 2013. So this is the 10th anniversary of Rick and Morty. That's what I mean by this nostalgia loop stuff, right? The 10th anniversary of that nostalgia loop nightmare that was Rick and Morty. We're at the 10-year anniversary of Rick and Morty, folks. Can you believe that shit? There you go. I don't know if this is relevant, but that Venus flytrap reminds me of a wet dream I had about the alien in Species. It absolutely is relevant, especially when considered that Species, I believe, Species 2 was 1998, which was exactly 25 years ago on the 25-year nostalgia loop. I mentioned that we did our first nostalgia loop experiment with the CW Chanter Secret Space Program whistleblower experiment. And during that first experiment, I did watch, because it was the 20-year nostalgia loop, I did watch Species 2. Dun, dun, dun. These are the original listings for spells that I used when I generated our first characters, doors, and portals for our playthrough that we're going to be doing. But I wanted to generate more because I was, on a kick for it. And also because I wanted to know that, look, when we do these things like the playthrough, we're not going to be able to get to our boss until we encounter every enemy at least one time. So sometimes things can go on. And we also know that the way that we have set things up, it's not a guarantee that our player character is gonna die. We don't have things set up really that like there's gonna naturally be an automatic like fight or fatality. We're not really aiming for that. So like I knew that we would need like stuff from 2014 in the hopper if we need like things to find or items or roles or stuff, or like if we need to keep on going. So I did another movie from 2014 that was a total gas called Club Lingerie. But more importantly, what I wanted to look at was I've watched every episode of Rick and Morty that aired in 2014 because there's only, like I said, there's only 8 of them. I've watched them so many times, like I think like I have them memorized. So I watched one of those again. But check this out. I started watching YouTube videos from 2014. I got like 2 minutes before I have to go. So check this out. Watch this. I watched an episode of The Gentleman Gamer where he did a review of Numenera. Now, Numenera was actually published in 2013, right? So if I'm only doing things from 2014, Numenera should be out of the running. But the Gentleman Gamer's review of Numenera was uploaded and recorded in 2014. So everything that he says in his review happens in 2014, and therefore it can be harvested for things. And you see, I just write down things. And you could write down things very specifically. You could like take down stats, or I just wrote down things like a strange journal entry documenting a changing, overtaking, a large forest of purple trees with strange fruit, blowing away the gentleman. How's that? Right? He says, this game blew me away. Oh, blowing away the gentleman. The world of darkness I profess to adore. The ninth world. You roll it. Billowy garments. She resents, fears, or forgives you. You can lessen gravity's pull, a power. A level 3 difficulty is a 9. We talk about these levels of difficulty. So all of a sudden you put that down as somebody's stat, like so all of a sudden, you know, they can transform. So the artists, it leaves me speechless. And then here's another video. How to Play the Strange, a YouTube video from 2014. So you can see, you could like, if you get, now check this out. Here's another video of how to play Numenera. But look, I found a YouTube video. Hold on, there's more. I know there's more. Hold on. Damn it. There's Sharktopus versus Petracuda. That's how I'm looking. Oh, check this out. GaryCon 2014, the Gary Gygax blowjob convention. So I watched one. It was GaryCon. It was them taking a tour of it was all the old D&D stalwarts taking a tour of the old facility at TSR. So it was Gail Gygax at the Geneva Lake. So I wrote Gale Lake because like you can combine things. You see things, you can combine them. Just the old building, 89, 87, the glass brick tunnel, Larry, Margaret, and Jeff, right? Because that's Larry Elmore, Margaret Weiss, and was it Jeff Easley? So it's just Larry, Margaret, and Jeff. And so you don't, when you use that, it doesn't have to be Larry Elmore, Margaret, and Jeff. It can just be like students in a school, like you do whatever. How do you function with all this visual horror around you? Tim Frey, how you doing? We're going to be ending soon, but welcome, welcome. Anatomically Correct Jessica, Nipples by Jeff. Gold. Jeff, A Portrait in Indifference. Because the entire video, Jeff Easley is just sitting there like, I want to get out of here. Marge has all the deets on the Sugar Shack. This was great. Margaret, whatever her name is, was like Margaret Weiss or whatever Davis. Like they, for whatever reason, they're talking about like some male stripper that they hired to do like art for one of her books. Like, oh, was it Margaret Hickman? I forget her. Like, this is the lady that's it's like Tracy Hickman and Margaret Hickman or whatever. I forget whatever. She like, all of a sudden she's like, oh yeah, the first Chippendales was actually in Geneva, and before that it was the Sugar Shack, and the Sugar Shack was owned by this girl who was the Playboy model. And she like knew all the details on the fucking like the history of male strippers in Geneva, Wisconsin. It's like there's no way that she just knows that because she's never been inside of like a man's strip club. She's like obviously the girl who was like every Friday, she's like, girls, where are we going for lunch? Sugar Shack, Sugar Shack. We're going to the Sugar Shack for lunch. Sugar Shack, Sugar Shack, Sugar Shack for lunch. What? Sugar Shack? You guys want to go to Sugar Shack? Sugar Shack. Friday, right? Sugar Shack? Come on, Sugar Shack. Like you know that she was like Miss Sugar Shack. Mass, New York. Anyway, every girl was super sexy. She had spiked heels and no pants on. I know Margaret cried about this. She was nude, scantily clad woman, high heels on fantasy. This is all of them just talking. Spiked heels with dragon claws. Jeff still silent, right? Marvel Studios Phase 3 announcement from 2014, right? This is more stuff you could use. Kevin F. Suit, t-shirt, baseball cap guy. That's Kevin Feige, the studliest guy in the world. Proud of the trailer numbers. Teaser for the aid. These are all things you could use. You know what I mean? So like that was like the points. I just wanted to show you like more things you could do just by doing that, like watching YouTube videos for 2014 Comic Con cosplays. Right? You can watch cosplay videos from given years. Huge Titan Teens. Let me think of some good ones. Bird-based Transmorphers, Sonic Boombox, Make It Rain Resources, Co-ed Spirit Smashers Congregate, Cosplay in London is redundant. Highborn elf, mucho style. So you can literally watch an episode of like, just any of these Comic Con cosplay videos on YouTube and just like write down like the super awesome different Lady Jason, Link Lady with sword and shield. Oh, and check this out one. I got one really cool one. Hold on, wait, where is it? Because I got like there was like a like the people dress up their little kids and there was like a little baby. It was like a baby like Green Arrow, but it had fallen asleep. So it's like you need like things that like an innocent thing you found in the forest. You see a rescue mission or an escort mission. You get things like this. E Frost, the E girl for 1980s escape clause. Perfect, right? Heavy highlighting for borderland boobs. I love the word boobs because it's multi-purpose. It could be a woman's breast, but it could also be like idiots on the scene. You know what I mean? Now check this out. Um, oh, retro RPG review of basic D&D that was uploaded in 2014. So we were able to write down the rules cyclopedia itself, right? From what, 1992, 1991? The D&D basic rules encyclopedia. But now you can put it in the game. And you've taken an item from 1990s and you've put it in 2014 because it was mentioned in 2014. Man-to-man melee table, but it could be anything. You could actually have it be the melee table from the game and use it, or you could have it be like a table that fights dudes. Without both, there would be none. Ridiculous 1 minute rounds. Keep on the Borderlands because it's keep on the Borderlands, but I split it up. So it's like keep on, like you could do a spell to keep people moving or have that be someone's power or stat that they can keep on going. And that's the Borderlands. Basic rule set one. It could be anything. A year later, travel through time, character strongholds. Now people get strongholds. You know what I mean? It's all these things. Larry and Elmore, I split it up. So now you get two different dudes. Larry and Elmore. Do-do-do-do-do-do. This is all good stuff, I think. And hopefully you're getting an understanding or better understanding of how it works. In a perfect world, I would have a 2014 tarot card deck to share with you to pull a card from. It's not a perfect world, but Tippy T.O. Tig. The perfect is the enemy of the good. Hold on. Okay, and I've got my cute. I'm back. Okay, so 2003. We're still in 2023. So 2003 is 20 years ago. It's 20-year nostalgia loop. We still got the Egyptian Tarot, and we'll always be on two. We'll still always have 2003. We'll still always have 2023. We'll still always have our experiences here, and we'll talk more. It is a marathon, not a sprint, and we get the Knave of Pentacles. Earth of Earth. But here I want to concentrate on writing things down and the recording of new information and the notion of no data loss and using the information that is around us and the eternal recycling of the information that is around us. The recycling of old paper into new paper, but not only that, the recycling of old words into new words. The cutting up and the continuation of the using of old letters and terminology and transformation of them into new words and new terminology. And even these game techniques into new game techniques and the rediscovery. It's no accident that as we're coming into this exploration ourselves, that when we look back from 2023 to 2013 for these nostalgia loops, that we see Monty Cook, that we find Monty Cook in Numenera, that had at its core this notion of archaeology, and that we find him and his erstwhile number two, his partner in crime, Bruce R. Cordell, and Bruce R. Cordell's notion of the 2014 expansion of Numenera, like the different game called The Strange, but then that turned the Numenera rules into a full system called the Cipher system. That most people kind of concede is kind of like the thing after D20. No one really talks about the Modifius, 2D20 system like we talk about Cipher, like people talk about Cipher. But whatever. It's pretty pristine. Anyway, the strange involves recursions, imaginary worlds that come into existence based on the imagination and the dreams of people from this reality. Right? Our thoughts and ideas become things. I see a lot of parallels. These might not be new ideas, but what is new? I'll talk to you again real soon. Get involved. I want players to play with me. If you've got questions about how this works, ask me questions about how this works. If you want to get involved and get started, check out this website. Look up this guy, Norbert G. Mataushk. At this, the website is it's like worm cult something. I forget what it is. But if you the land shut rules, if you look up land shut rules, you get to this guy in a second. Vultrum, Vultrum, like Voltron, but different. Digging it. Get involved. You want to play with me? I want to play. I want people to play with me. We'll do this co-op. We're working on systems. We're working on things. Get involved. Get involved. Get involved. Get your beak wet. Get your beak wet. Get your beak wet. Talk to you soon. Get your beak wet.